Welcome. In this video, I'll be showing you how to create a class of service and then how to move users and options in the class of service around depending on what you need to do with it. The first thing you'll need to do is to log into your PBX. You can web to it using the IP address with a :2001 at the end for the port, or you can use a fully qualified domain name with a :2001 at the end for the port. Once you've logged into your PBX, you'll need to go to Modules and Class of Service. The class of service screen will open. You'll see that we have one here named testing, but for today's purposes, we're going to create a new one. Click Add New COS. Once you open up the COS, you'll be able to name it. We're going to name this one Video. And so in the video, you can use, in the class of service, you can set the options for different devices. The first thing you'll need to do is select the extensions or phones that will be a member of this COS. So for our purposes, I'm going to go down here and make sure I select some that are not in another class of service that I have. The first thing, the easiest way to move them to the allow, you have the exclude and the included columns. The easiest way to move a single extension from the exclude to the include or from include to exclude is to double click it and it will move over. You'll see it disappear from the exclude here and then you'll see it in the include over here. Now there are other things you could do here. You could click this button and move all the extensions to the left. You can click this button and move all the extensions to exclude. You can click this middle button and it will swap the extensions, as you can see there. But for today's purposes, we're just going to leave these two in this particular group. The next tab is routes. In the routes column tab, you have allow and deny routes. By default, when you create a new COS, all of the routes are in the allow. So what you'll need to do is if say these phones can call our call manager, which we have set up in a hybrid mode at the moment for our phones, then you could leave the ITSCUCM route, which sends calls to our call manager in, but they are not allowed to call outbound. They're not allowed to make outside calls. So I'll remove our to ITSPRI route because I don't want them to be able to make calls to outside of the network. That is completely up to you. It depends on what your routes are doing and what you want the people in this particular class of service to have access to. The next thing is feature codes. Again, you can go through and look at the feature codes that they have access to. Any of them that you don't want them to use, you can move to the deny. There's lots of options here, so I'm not going to go through each and every one, but say if you didn't want them to have a pickup part call prefix, then you can move that feature code to the deny and they would not be allowed to make those calls. The next one is ring groups, and again it's the same situation. All the ones that are created already on the system, which we have none, would be in the allow section, and that just means that these people can call those ring groups. If you don't want them to be able to call the ring groups, move them to the deny. The same thing goes for queues, for conferences. As you can see, the conferences are here. We don't want these users to be able to call any of these conference numbers, or we want them to only be able to call a single conference number. We would have the single conference number in the allow and the rest in the deny. Same thing with paging, same thing with voicemail blast, and same thing with contact groups. They're all the same. You select the options that you want the users to be able to have access to and leave them in the allow and move the remainder to the deny. Once you've done this, you'll click submit and then apply config. There is one thing I want to go over, and it'll be easy to show you because I just created a new route, so it will show up differently in the class of service that is already created on my Sangoma PBX. So as soon as the apply config completes, I'll show you how that works. I do not understand why, but I do know that it is the case. When you create an outbound route, all existing class of services, and it makes sense because if I'm creating a new route, I don't want to just give it to everybody, right away. I may only want it to go to a single class of service. So if it's in allow on all of them, now I have to go through all the class of services and remove the outbound route from it. So as you'll see, we go to our testing, which is the class of service that was already on the sangoma before we got here, and we select routes. Then you'll see that I have two ITS CUCM is in the allow, and the one I just created, 2 ITS PRI, is in the deny. And so what you would do is if you wanted them to be able to have this call, you would move them to the left. Now, something about class of services is, and I'm sure you may have noticed, you cannot move, you can move the same extension to multiple class of services, include list. And it tells you right up here, allow overrides deny. If an extension is assigned to conflicting COSs, the calculated permission is allow. This may be changed in advanced settings. So the default is if, say I were to move this PRI to my allow, that would conflict with my other COS that we just created. If one of my extensions that were in both that COS and this COS, then the default option is for it to allow those calls to proceed. You can change that in the advanced settings and change it to deny. It's all up to what you want to do. The best thing to do is to try and make sure that your extensions are only in one COS. And the easiest way to do it is to look at the extensions themselves. If you have any questions about how to do that, please let me know and I can make a video on it. For today, that's all I have. Thank you.